The Tory party-led UK government witnessed another blow. A UK court turned down their request to prevent the COVID inquiry from accessing former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's COVID-era messages. Two High Court judges ruled that Heather Hallett's-led inquiry acted rationally, while adding that Johnson's diaries and notebooks are very likely to contain information about decision-making during the pandemic. The court also said that if the inquiry finds documents which are absolutely irrelevant, they will return it to the Cabinet Office. The court ruled that the documents must be handed over to the inquiry by July 10th. The UK government has pledged that it will comply fully and working towards an arrangement that respects the privacy of individuals. The Labour Party said the judgment comes as a complete humiliation for the Tory government, while accusing UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of wasting the time and taxpayers' money on legal battles. For months now, the UK Cabinet Office has opposed the release of Johnson's COVID-era WhatsApp messages, diaries and notebooks. Earlier, Johnson has said he does not object to the inquiry seeing his messages and his notebooks. Johnson's government faced a series of criticism for not taking the pandemic threat seriously in the early stages of the coronavirus outbreak. Similarly, opposition and public have criticised the government for not providing enough protective equipment for frontline medical staff.
And being bullied.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by our correspondent Alex Isat in London. Alex, the government put up a pretty strong fight to keep these messages and notebooks and diaries from the inquiry, but obviously they've lost that. How significant is it, and what are we expecting to find out from this information?
Well, you're right. They did put a lot of energy and time into trying to stop these WhatsApp messages and for the diary to go forward into the inquiry. But also we understand that Boris Johnson himself said that he was willing to bypass the government's plan to stop them and give his own WhatsApp and diary as well. So it does seem that there is already this underhanded approach within the government. Again, a lot of people are calling out, well, if Boris Johnson was willing to do this, then who really is this covering up for? And a lot of the opposition are saying there's something about Prime Minister Rishi Sunak that he obviously wants to cover up, because back when the COVID pandemic was hit, he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and maybe those WhatsApp messages and diary inputs could well show that he did something that was also putting a foot out of step. Of course, we don't know that. It is all conjecture at the moment. But when it comes to other things that Rishi Sunak is being scrutinised for, a lot of opposition parties are saying, well, he hasn't turned up for PMQs for a while. Yes, he was at the liaison committee where he was asked specific questions. But with regards to a wider issue on the political sphere, it does seem that a lot of the opposition are holding on to potentially that Rishi Sunak himself has something to hide rather than Boris Johnson. What we will see now, though, is these messages will go to the inquiry with Baroness Hallett, which she will be looking into exactly what should be used and potentially what shouldn't as well. So any privacy issues shouldn't be a problem going forward. Of course, we are still seeing this COVID inquiry that's continuing to rumble on. The point of it all is to ensure that if this does happen again with another type of incident like COVID, that the government will be more prepared, and also what they could have done differently. But of course, that doesn't really help those families and friends of those who have lost loved ones, or those who are still suffering with long health issues as well. But this inquiry will look into exactly what happened within the government and what can be done next time to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And they're saying that these messages are going to prove pivotal into helping that inquiry.
Alex, what impact do you think this is having on the electorate? We mentioned yesterday about the fact that every time Rishi Sunak tries to take a step forward away from certain controversies, he's dragged backwards. Do you sense that the electorate is keeping a close eye on all of this development and it's going to play out in the next general election?
It's an interesting question for the sense of, are they keeping an eye over exactly what's happening with the political tit for tat? I'm not 100% sure that is the case, mostly because people do seem quite deflated with politics at the moment. You know, you go to any outing and you ask people what they think about Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak, and people have an opinion, but it's not really based on what exactly is happening. A lot of people I've spoken to with regards to this COVID inquiry, and especially the Partygate issues and all of this rumbling on, they just had enough. They're a bit frustrated about the amount of money that's going into keeping this alive. Of course, they understand the inquiry is important for future issues, but a lot of people have just had enough. They have this fatigue over politics in general. Of course, the polls are showing that the Conservatives aren't doing particularly well, but whether it's on specific issues, it's probably not the case. A lot of people just generally with politics are just frustrated. They're not seeing any movement with their day-to-day issues, which is still, as we keep saying, the cost of living crisis, fuels, mortgages, everything is very expensive, and that's what the issue really comes down to. The migrant crisis, all of those things that people are talking about, they're not talking about the Partygate of something that happened a couple of years ago, and I think many people just want to put an end to it and move on, and they want to see some real difference with their day-to-day life.
Alex Sayers, that's our correspondent in London. Many thanks.